$2,000 for a concert ticket. Not a VIP package, not a backstage meeting with the artist, just the seat. On November 15, 2022, Ticketmaster's chairman reported that 14 million people had tried to access the site for Taylor Swift's Eras Tour in a single day. They said they could have filled 900 stadiums. The website crashed. People spent hours in virtual queues only to find that prices had skyrocketed. And when they finally got to the booking page, they paid anyway. And that's the part we're discussing today. Let's put the outrage aside for a minute, come back to that later, and focus on the fact that millions of people, many of them perfectly rational adults, saw a $2,000 price tag for a concert ticket and said, yes, let's go. Today, we're going to understand why. Because what happened with the Eras Tour is not a story about greed. It's one of the most beautiful case studies I've ever seen of pricing power taken to its absolute limits. Let's start with the numbers, because they're remarkable. The Eras Tour grossed $2 billion. The highest grossing concert in history, roughly double the previous record. 149 shows, over 10 million tickets sold. Face value tickets in the US ranged from $49 to $499, depending on the section. But on the secondary market, StubHub, Vivid Seat, or direct sale, the average price over the full tour was $1,600 per ticket. For the final Vancouver weekend, almost $3,000 on average. For reference, the average flight from Paris to New York costs $600. So people were paying more for 3 hours of music than for a transatlantic flight. And the question I'd like to start with today isn't whether that's fair, we'll talk about that at the end of the video, but how does that become possible? Because if it were just about supply and demand, I wouldn't have made this video. Demand goes up, prices go up, that's obvious. What's not obvious is why people still said yes. And believe it or not, the answer isn't irrational. It's actually the most rational thing in the world, once you understand what $2,000 actually buys. In the previous video, we broke down the 4 sources of pricing power: switching costs, network effects, intangible assets, habit, and inertia. Most companies have one. A few exceptional companies have 2 or 3. Eras Tour had all 4, simultaneously and at scale. Let me show you what that looks like in practice. The first one, switching costs. What is the alternative to seeing Taylor Swift on the Eras Tour? There is no alternative. That's not a figure of speech. The Eras Tour was, by design, a once-in-a-generation event. A retrospective of every album, every era. A show that will never be reproduced exactly as it was. In pricing, switching costs are usually about the effort required to leave a product. Here, the switching cost was temporal. Miss it, and it's gone. And that changes the decision. This is exactly what we saw with surge pricing, video above. The comparison is no longer, is this ticket worth $2,000? The comparison is, what is missing this worth to me? When the alternative is, this moment never exists again, price becomes almost irrelevant. Second source, network effects. Here's something that doesn't happen with other artists at such a massive scale. Going to an Eras Tour show wasn't just a private experience, it was a shared one. Friendship bracelets, outfits, collective sing-alongs, social media content that you'd share with your friends, group chats, and on Monday morning, the face of your friends who missed out when you tell them about the concert. The value of attending increased with the number of people who attended. That's a network effect. Not going meant being excluded from a cultural conversation that was everywhere, at school, at work, on every social platform. So the network effect turned the show into a social currency. And social currencies are almost impossible to price rationally. Source number 3, intangible assets. Now, this is where most people underestimate what's happening. Taylor Swift has been building her brand since her debut album in 2006. By the time the Eras Tour launched, she wasn't just an artist. She was a strong, trusted brand. People who bought those tickets didn't need to wonder if the show would be good. They had nearly 20 years of evidence. In my experience, after years of working on pricing in large organizations, this is one of the patterns I keep seeing across industries. Buyers don't pay a premium for certainty about quality. They pay a premium to eliminate uncertainty about quality. $2,000 for a Taylor Swift ticket is in part a payment for the guarantee that you will not be disappointed. The intangible asset doesn't just justify the price, it makes the price feel like a hedge against regret, a source for habit and inertia. And that's the most durable source of all. For a significant portion of the audience, following Taylor Swift is not a preference. It's a routine. Every album drop, every tour announcement, every pre-sale, for millions of fans, engaging with Taylor Swift is an automatic behavior built over years. And when the behavior becomes automatic, the decision to buy stops being evaluated against alternatives. It's evaluated against the discomfort of breaking the routine. We talked about this with Netflix, video above. Not loyalty, not love, default. Taylor Swift has become a default for her audience, which means that when her tour was announced, the question was never, should I go? It was, how do I get there? And how do I get there is a completely different question, one that does not have a price tag. The takeaway for your own business: when a product becomes part of someone's automatic routine, you are no longer competing with other products. You are competing with the friction of breaking a habit. That's probably the most durable moat in pricing and the hardest to build. Now, let's talk about the controversy because it's instructive as well. After the pre-sale chaos, two separate things got mixed up in the public discourse, and they're worth separating. The first one is the operational failure. Ticketmaster's infrastructure collapsed under demand that it should have anticipated. 14 million total site access attempts in one single day. Hours of queue, errors, bots competing with humans, and only 1.5 million slots that were actually open for verified fans. That's a legitimate failure, and it was rightly criticized. The second is the pricing itself, and most people haven't really looked up the information that I'm going to share. Taylor Swift's team made the deliberate decision not to implement the dynamic pricing at face value. The average ticket sold at around $200, which is fair and comparable to other similar artists. So the gap between face value and the secondary market was enormous, around $1,400. This difference went to resellers, not to Taylor Swift, not to her team, not to the tour. So the outrage, when it was directed to Taylor Swift, was largely misdirected. The real story is that she left value on the table on purpose. She could have made over $1 billion more. She chose not to because her pricing objective was not revenue maximization. She was pricing for access, not for margin extraction. And that distinction in itself is a form of brand management. Keeping face value tickets at $200 on average when demand would have supported $1,600 was a clear message, a message to her core audience. I'm not the one doing this to you. That, to me, is a pricing decision with a 20-year horizon. And the takeaway for your own business is that pricing is not always about capturing maximum value. Sometimes it's about managing perception over time. The most sophisticated pricing decisions are the ones that sacrifice short-term revenue to protect long-term signal. So what does all of that mean outside of the music industry? A few things that I find worth carrying into a pricing conversation. The first one is scarcity is a pricing lever, but only if scarcity is real. Taylor Swift did not manufacture scarcity. The Eras tour was genuinely a rare opportunity. One run, limited venues, a specific window in time. Artificial scarcity, when you say to your clients, only 3 left in stock, on a product that is not actually scarce, creates short-term urgency, but long-term erosion of trust. Real scarcity creates real pricing power. The second is the experience is part of the product. No one paid $1,600 for 3 hours of music. They paid for the memory, for the shared moment and the story they would tell. The bracelet they trade, for being part of something. Any business that sells an experience and not just a product should be asking, what is the full value of this memory beyond the event itself. The third one is that leaving value on the table can be the right strategic move. Taylor Swift could have used dynamic pricing. The demand was there, the tools existed, but she chose not to. And by doing so, she captured something more valuable than the $1 billion she left on the table. By the way, would you have made that choice? Oasis didn't. We'll come back to that. But she maintained the signal that her fans are not a resource to extract from. That message will outlast the Eras Tour by decades. The best pricing decisions are sometimes the ones that don't maximize revenue. So the takeaway for your business, before you worry about whether your prices are too high, ask yourself whether you've built the conditions to justify them. Switching costs, network effect, intangible assets, habit and inertia. Price is never just a number, it's the answer to a question your customer is asking. And that question is almost never, is this worth it? It's compared to what? Now, Taylor Swift chose not to use dynamic pricing. She left money on the table and protected her brand. What happens when an artist makes the opposite choice? August 2024, Oasis announces their reunion tour. First shows together in 15 years. Fans queue online for hours, £150 tickets for the London concert. While they wait in line, the price changed, £350, £400. Some tickets got to £500 before selling out. The UK government launches an investigation, and the contrast with Taylor Swift couldn't be clearer. That's the next video. If this kind of analysis is useful to you, whether you're building your pricing strategy or just trying to understand the world around you, subscribe to the Pricing Club. New video every Thursday. Thank you for watching. Take care.